Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching us from. This is Comfort Eyitayo, your regular host for the Connect with Comfort show. On this program, we aim to add value to people on business enterprise and personal growth. Each show is organized to feature special guests who are usually subject matter experts that helps us to throw more insights on the topic of the day. I am glad you are able to join us. You are most welcome. Our conversation today is a very insightful one as it speaks deeply to the crossroads we all face at different points in our personal, professional, and even business journeys. There comes a, a point in time when the question echoes, should I move? Should I shift? Or should I stay? This informs the topic of the day, knowing when to move, shift, or stay. In life, as in leadership, timing is everything. The difference between growth and stagnation often lies not in our abilities, but in our discernment, our capacity to recognize when it's time to take a bold step forward, when to pivot and adapt, and when to stand firm and hold our ground. For some, moving means embracing new opportunities, a new role, a new vision, a new chapter. For others, shifting means realigning, adjusting our methods, our mindset, or even our mission to better fit the evolving realities around us. And yet, sometimes the hardest choice of all is to stay, that is, to maintain status quo. To persevere, refine, and trust the process, even when the winds of change are very strong. Sometimes progress demands motion, other times wisdom requires stillness. But the difference between frustration and fulfillment often lies in knowing what season you are in. So today, on our discussion, we are going to look on this moment's decision. How do we know when to change or when the change is necessary and when patience is wisdom? What signals will tell us that it's time to act or to wait? As we explore all these ideas today, I encourage us all to listen with open minds and open our hearts to possibilities, taking the right decision, because the courage to move, the flexibility to shift, and the strength to stay each has its own season and its own reward. Let's journey together into this timely and thought provoking decision on our discussion today, knowing when to move, shift, or stay. Our guest is already in the house, waiting patiently for us to beckon on her. We will go on a very short break right now. Please remain connected. We'll be right back. Thank you. You are welcome back. Today on Connect with Comfort Show, I have the pleasure to introduce our special guest for today. She's not a stranger on this show. She has featured before on other times to partner with us on this show. And her name is Oluwadamilola Ojo. Oluwadamilola is a multi-award winning education technology leader. She is the founder of Schools, a tech and vocational skills institution for youth. She is also the executive director of TCK Zone, an NGO scaling technology education to young children in undeserved communities or underserved communities. I beg your pardon. Throughout her career, Oluwadamilola has received numerous accolades and awards for her contributions to education, technology, and social impact initiatives, which includes being a UK Global Talent, United Nations WSA Global Champion, Mastercard Women SME Leader, Standard Chartered WITI Award winner, amongst others. Oluwadamilola is she's a strong advocate for quality education, and she would love to see millions of African youth being equipped for future jobs. Please join me in making welcome Oluwadamilola Ojo to the show today. Thank you very much, Damilola, for coming on the show yet again and
Hello.
availing us of your vast experience. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure being on the show.
Thank you. Okay, without much ado, we go straight to making our audience to understand, to have the foundational understanding of this topic by asking, what does knowing when to move, shift, or stay mean to you personally, and what should it mean to us?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm gonna start with one of the hardest decision you would make as an individual or as a professional or a leader is not just in knowing what to do, but in knowing when to do it. Timing is always crucial in anybody's life, right? So the topic before us is a very interesting one and a timely one at that. So what does the topic mean? Like knowing when to move, shift, or stay. I'm going to start with when to move, right? So when to move simply means should you leave that particular thing you're doing, right? Should you change it entirely? Should you stop and like take on like a new opportunity? So it means leaving, like changing completely, right? Taking up new opportunities, right? And when to shift means you are evolving, right? You're changing either your strategy or your approach to a particular thing, or you're changing your mindset about a particular thing. Then lastly, when to stay means you are holding your ground. You're saying, this very thing that I have started, I must complete it to the end, right? I must finish it, no matter the challenges, no matter what may come. So that's when to stay. And I've pretty much applied all of these things in my personal life, and I'll be sharing it even as we go on into this show.
Thank you very much. Why is timing such an important factor in life's major decision? Because you refer to timing.
Well, so a man's life is tied to time. How do I put it? It's more of you being able to make informed decisions. There's a saying that time waits for no man, right? And as an individual, your life is tied to like whatever decision you make per time affects you either positively or negatively. So sometimes you would say, oh, I'm going to not do this thing right now. And some certain decisions, if you don't do it at an exact time, you miss those opportunities. So timing is crucial because it can define how the next trajectory will go, right? For instance, if you're supposed to make a decision today and you do not make it, your tomorrow can be affected by that decision you do not make, either positively or negatively. So timing is very important.
And like they say in the can you hear me now?
Yes, I thought it was my own network. Yes, I can.
No, I think it was a
Okay.
power change in my location. So, like I was saying, that you rightly said, time is very important, and as they say in normal balance, time is money. So, time actually determines so many things, and the key thing that you said, which is also true, is that it can, if you are not timely on a decision, you can miss an opportunity and miss it forever. You will not have another chance
Yeah.
to get that thing right. So it's very important for us to be time conscious on any decision that we need to take. So how do we differentiate between a change, because we are talking of moving or shifting, between a change driven by growth and a change driven by frustration or fear, because so many things can be responsible for your need to move or shift.
Absolutely. Yes, so there are certain things that can make you change, and those are some of the things you have just mentioned now, right? You might want to change because of you want to go to greater heights, right? But you might also want to change or shift, right, because of the frustration you are feeling in that particular area that you are, or because you are afraid that, oh, what if I don't make it in this particular thing, right? But you need to understand that when you are um when you are shifting, or when you're changing because of growth, it means you're changing due to clarity, right? That's how you know the difference. If it is growth based, you are clear on that particular change. But if it's driven by fear, you're still going to be confused. So let me explain. Um, so for instance, if you are a professional and you've probably been working in a particular sector before, maybe in the finance sector, and then all of a sudden you see that, oh, the world is going maybe into technology, more technology skills are advancing, and you want to take that trend and say, hey, it's high time I learn a tech skill, that you are clear on what is making you change, right? And that there is a change based on growth. But if um you see it that, oh, everybody is quitting, or everybody is changing, that's why I want to change as well, they know that you are changing because of fear, or because of the confusion you're feeling, or because you just want to follow the trend, right? And that can cause frustration if you do that. So you need to ask yourself, what exactly is the reason behind this change of mind? And am I clear about it, or am I confused about it? That will now help you determine whether it's frustration, or whether it's actually growth that you're aiming for.
Okay, yeah. Many people, when we talk of frustration, like you have been on one spot for a long time, and perhaps you see others making progress in the same space. You can feel frustrated that why am I stagnant? Why is it that everything has stopped for me? And things like that could lead to frustration. So we need to be clear in our mind the need for move or shift most times before we take that decision, so that it does not lead to the third one, which is frustration. Because if you take a wrong move at the wrong time, then it might lead to frustration. So, like individual, what indicators or signs can help a person recognize if it's time to move on from a situation, a job, or even a relationship?
All right. That's a very, very good question. Because oftentimes some people, they'll be seeing like different signs, right? They keep telling themselves, oh, I feel it's time for me to move on. Oh, I feel it's, but they are not necessarily clear, right? Because they can't really pinpoint or tell the difference, right? And sometimes some people are always being very, very careful. So these are some things you should take note of. So number one, your energy level towards that particular thing you are in, either a job, either a relationship. What's your energy level like? Are you still excited about that thing, or are you drained? Like whenever I think about that thing, like you just feel exhausted, like you just feel tired, or are you always energetic? right? It can happen in your line of work, right? You're in, for instance, you are a teacher and you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. If you get to a point whereby you're feeling drained, you need to now ask yourself, okay, am I supposed to be in this field? And or what made me come into this field? And if by asking yourself that question, your answers give you excitement or refuels you to keep going, then you know you're doing the right thing. But if after your energy test, you're not still seeing that different, you're not still seeing that shift, then you know that it's time for you to move. Then the second thing is, what impact, second sign you see is, you need to ask yourself is, are you making impacts or are you seeing any impact in that particular thing you are doing? For instance, if you're a farmer now, if you plant maize, you know you're supposed to, in a few months, you're supposed to reap your rewards. If you're in a relationship or a job and you're putting in all your efforts, but it's not yielding any results whatsoever, or that you see that your result is declining, then it's time to review your direction, right? If your productivity, you're walking like an elephant or you're eating like an ant, right? That type of um methodology, if that's what's happening to you, then that's another sign that you need to actually make a change, either by moving, by shifting, and not staying. Then the third sign um, is your learning journey. Have you stopped learning? And this is like one of the most dangerous sign, right? Because the analysis is like when you stop learning, you start dying or you start depreciating. So if you see a sign whereby you have stopped learning and you shouldn't be comfortable with it, you see a lot of individuals in their workplace, they've stopped learning, right? They are no longer challenging themselves, but you still see them stay there because, oh, they're like, I just want to I don't want to change, I just want to be where I am. So you need to ask yourself, are you still learning? And I think the final point, the final sign is your values. As you grow as an individual, your values would evolve. So, does your values still match the environment that you are in, your job, your relationship, right? Does your values still match that particular location that you are in or that particular situation that you're in? So, I'll just do a quick recap. The first one is your energy test. Ask yourself, are you still challenged? Are you still energetic? Are you still excited about that thing you're doing? Second one is the impact you're making, right? Are you still seeing results for the efforts that you put in? The third one I said is your growth or your learning. You're learning. Are you still learning? And the fourth sign, you need to ask yourself, do your values and that of where you are still align?
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much. I said those are indicators that we need to keep in mind to help us to know what is the right decision and when to take the right decision. And in all these reflectors that, if I can call it that, that you have given us today, does intuition, faith, or personal conviction play What role does that play in our decision, given all these indicators?
Um, okay, so for me personally, I would say faith plays a huge role in um decisions that I make. So every individual needs to fully understand that these decisions are personal decisions. So they need to be fully convinced. So where do you get your conviction from is where you now need to ask yourself, okay? Is it through your personal beliefs, right? Or is it through your faith? Either or you've prayed and yes, you're feeling this strong conviction to move, or your personal intuition, like you just keep feeling tired and exhausted, like things I have said before, right? Um,
Or,
this
or peer pressure,
oh, yes,
social circle?
yes, or your social circle, which that part is actually not a good one when it comes to peer peer pressure. We need to not allow those things define the decisions that we make, because
Decision.
at the end of the day, when you head towards that decision or towards that direction and maybe things go south, you need to be able to hold yourself accountable, and instead of just having regrets, right?
Yeah.
So in making decisions, you need to be able to hold yourself accountable. And if you're going with faith, that's why you see some Christians that they go back to God or who they believe in and say, "Hey, God, you are the one that made me take this decision, or you were the one that gave me this direction." So if you're making if you're making any strategic decision, and that is time based, especially, right, you need to be fully convinced that this is the right way to go. So either go through your own personal conviction, like I said, through your faith, but don't allow peer pressure
To
push you.
guide. Yeah.
Don't allow peer pressure to push you.
That's true. Because at the end of the day, you can you hear me now?
Okay, yes,
Oh, okay.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah. Okay. So I said, at the end of the day, the box stops on your table. So you have to be comfortable and be able to uphold whatever decision you end up with. So
Great.
I'm agreeing with you that following social circle or peer pressure is just not the right path. Okay. Can
All right, I stopped hearing you.
I wanted to give up. I'm done with all the things I'm going through. I'm trying to keep my head up. I try to win, but every time I lose. Should be getting better. I try, but I don't know what to do. Hope this ain't forever. I just wanna make a breakthrough, but something inside said never give up. all of these setbacks are major setups. If I keep on fighting, if I keep on trying, if I aim for the sky, one day things will go my way. One day things will go my way.
Okay, welcome back. And as the video says, if I keep on trying, because the question I was asking, which that video pins on, is that sometimes it may be very hard for you to decide to stay on, to persevere. And the question is, what are the risks of moving too quickly or staying too long in professional context?
Okay. It's exactly the same thing we have been talking about before, right? It's all about making timely decisions, um because time bound decisions, right? There are some you might not be able to um recover from, right? So you need to be sure that you're making the right decision. But in trying to make the right decision, you might um move too quickly or decide you're going to stay too long. So I would give an example. There's a friend of mine that was in a she was working as a customer support for a long time. Although she was getting other skills, right, adding to herself, but she didn't have that confidence, right, to go to the boss or a manager and say, um, I feel like I've gotten to a point whereby I can take on higher roles, right? I can take on higher roles, I can take on better roles. So she was comfortable. She wasn't comfortable where she was, but that confidence wasn't there. And as at the time that she now built up that confidence to go and meet the manager was like, "Oh, I wish you had come like 6 months ago, right? When we were trying to get somebody for this new role, we would not have gone to hire someone outside. We would have just picked you instead." So this type of situations happen sometimes. So we would go straight to the question. So are the risks? What costs would you bear if you decide to move too quickly or you decide to stay where you are? The risks of moving too quickly, let's start with that. So there are times that you go and start a decision when people are not ready for it. um Number one, you risk building um something strong in the wrong direction, right? Let me break that down. You didn't plan for that particular decision you wanted to make, right? You saw that, oh, I feel I should be doing this thing, and immediately you left. An example is you quitting your job. Yes, you feel you are being drained in your job. You feel, okay, it's not the right thing for me to keep doing. And then all of a sudden, you gave your resignation. Or sometimes some people will not even give their resignation letter. You just see them, they won't show up the next day. Number one, the person doesn't have a savings or a backup somewhere, right? That, okay, when I stop this job, this is what I'm going to fall back to. Okay. They don't have a plan B that, all right, okay, I am going into this field next, or I'll start applying for this thing next. They have not made that decision. They just feel frustrated of their current job and they call it quits. So they risk number one, either not being able to take care of themselves for at least a few months. Number two, they did not do their research as to what's the job market saying, how soon will they be able to get a new job. So you see them lamenting at the end of the day. So moving too quickly sometimes, it can create burnout. Although you were aiming for something higher, you were aiming to become bigger, right? But you now find yourself in that regret position. Those are the risks of moving quickly. Another risk of moving quickly is that you get confused midway because of the plan that you because of the fact that you did not plan, right? You did not reflect, you did not ask yourself certain questions before you change direction. It's like going on a travel journey and then midway is now when you're checking your map. You would be lost, right? You would be lost checking your map midway when you've already started the journey. So you get confused midway. And as a professional, a young person, um, you shouldn't at any point in your life get confused, especially if you've already taken a drastic decision that is already building up momentum in terms of, oh, your bills are building up, or your responsibilities are building up, and then midway you're not asking yourself, oh, did I make a wrong decision by leaving? All right. And then I would go to the dangers of staying too long. The first danger is your relevance diminishes. All right. If you're staying in a particular place too long and you don't move, especially when um the things around you are moving, the world, the trends, right? I'm not saying you should now take decisions based on you should rush take decisions, but when you have constantly kept noticing some things happening over and over again, right? For instance, the coming of AI, and then you've noticed that your particular role, okay, you've seen different AI tools being able to do that exact thing that you're doing at your place of work. And you've not told yourself, okay, what should I do? Should I start taking a new course? Should I start learning a new um should I start learning a new skill? All right. So your relevance diminishes. So I'm going to stop there. Those are some of the dangers of staying too long.
Thank you very much. I think these examples you have given us speaks partially to the question we got from one of our audience, Ibukun Olufilani. Please, media, can you put the question back up again? He's asking us if perhaps you can go something like can you go back to where you left before? Media, can you please put up the question from Ibukun? In essence, it's like asking if you can go back to where you left before, which more or less uh, make me believe that perhaps the decision was taken in haste or too quickly, like we are just addressing. Okay, maybe media will get back to that. They are here to put up the question because I want to go through the question. Okay, it's back. If I may, is there any harm in moving back to the position you came from? That is, you once migrated to another economy and the unforeseen happened. Would you advise to stay and persevere? So what's your take?
Okay, very good question, right? So, um, I think this question is more or less like in the situation of those that jackpot and maybe don't want to jackpot that like come back
Where are
to
they?
Nigeria. Um, Now, oftentimes, I would say it should have been easier, but you found out that a couple of these people have left their job, they've sold their houses, sold their cars, sold almost everything, right? Just even to travel in the first place, without fully assessing the situation of what they are going to meet there. So now, this person needs to ask him or herself, right? Even though yes, in the new economy you're facing unforeseen circumstances, or something unforeseen happened, you need to now ask yourself one of the questions we've talked about before. Did you move because of peer pressure? Was it because of fear? Was it because of was it your faith, right, that made you move, right? What exactly made you make that decision at that time? Once you've assessed that, right, once you've assessed that, it helps you better align yourself, um, or be understanding with yourself to what decision you now make eventually. We've seen a lot of people that did this, they traveled, and then the situation over there wasn't palatable for
As
them.
expected.
But some of, yes, as expected, but some of them moved because okay, God or the Holy Spirit told them to move. So in that case, they can easily go back and say, okay, this was why I moved. It means it was strategic decision for me at that time. So they'll go back to that faith and keep praying until things get better. In the professional sense, right? You need to ask yourself, those challenges you're facing, are they peculiar to only you? If they are not, then you know that you've made your decision, and you need to personally adjust to that situation. For instance, you thought, oh, within 2 months, oh, I should be able to get a job here in UK, right, or in US, but that's not the case sometimes. So you need to ask yourself, what do I need to do at this point? I'm not able to get a job. Will I now fold my hands? Right? No. But you keep persevering, speak to people, ask questions, get help from anyone you can. And before you now make that decision of coming back. Because when you come back, sometimes it's more or less you're starting from the ground up. So if you are okay with doing that, then yes, you're free to come back. Or if you felt you made a wrong decision in moving in the first place, then um, you can come back and realign your steps or get yourself balanced properly before now traveling again.
Okay, I hope that answers the question for Ibuku. The basis of the decision either to persevere or to move or to shift is in the answer she gave, first analyzing why you moved in the first place, if the problem you are encountering here is peculiar to you or is a general problem that you believe if you persevere you overcome, and if worse come to worse, like they say in Yoruba, if you cannot go forward, you can then retrace your step. But in taking that decision also, you need to know if you can cope with the setback of having to start all over again, because nothing remain static. Those you left when you were living are not remaining static, and things were not held constant in the same position you left it. So those are the decisions to make. But in either way, you have to make a decision. You cannot fold your hands. You can either move or shift, shifting within maybe the same economy or even another place, or stay. So those are the key things that would help you to make a decision. But when we are taking this decision, a question occurs to me: are there strategies that such individuals can use to manage anxiety? Because obviously there will be anxiety in place in situation like this, that they can use to manage the anxiety that comes with a major transition or major decision such as this. Are there
Yes,
strategies here?
absolutely. All right. So I think in managing anxiety or fear, so sometimes when in an individual life you're about to make like a life-changing decision or a decision such as this, right? There are fear comes in place, anxiety comes in place. So the first thing you need to do is um ask yourself, is there a deadline to that decision? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. Is there a deadline to it? Right? Once you Once if there's a deadline, fine, there are things you need to do. But if there's no deadline, then you know you can maybe take your time to make that particular decision. But if there's a deadline, then it gets more dicey. Um you need to ask yourself this, what's the worst that can really happen? Okay. So when you start having fear or anxiety like that for the decisions, you need to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? In the professional setting, they'll say do SWOT, this SWOT analysis, right? Yes, the strength, the weakness, the opportunities, right, of that decision you're trying to make. Right. So you need to write down what would be the advantages if you make the decision, what would be the disadvantages. Right. With that, you would see um you can clearly define what decision you're trying to make, right? So your fear would begin to depreciate, right? Because the fear, for instance, you're traveling, your fear would be, oh, this traveling or this decision, I want to, is it the best for me at this time, right? Or if you're looking for to get a job or make a major presentation, your fear would be, oh, what if I mess up, right? So those are fears that come in. So that's the question to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? And the third thing would be um go back to your your personal intuition, right? What exactly is your mind telling you to do, right? What exactly do you feel best um best comfortable doing? What's the best decision, right? Are you getting that peace in your mind about that decision you're about to take? um Sometimes the fear would come, but overall, are you at peace with that decision? And I think lastly, is if a final strategy that I use oftentimes is I write down my worries. So when you write it down, you can look at it and dissect each of these things, right? Or for instance, the SWOT analysis I mentioned, once you've written it down, you can now look at each point and say, okay, I'm afraid of this happening. What can I do? What can I control? What can't I control? Right? All of this would help you overcome anxiety.
Thank you very much. There's a contribution from Dr. Aseyin from Abuja, and I think this is also in response to Ibukun's question. I hope Ibukun is still listening. Regrets are outcomes of bad decisions. Going back to previous place of work may diminish your value. If you are self-employed, you can reverse yourself and relaunch. Very true. Very true. Because if you do not know how to handle the backlash that can come from you going back to your previous place of work, in fact, it can be can bring more calamity than you think you are salvaging, because that can even get you depressed. So when we talk of diminishing, it can really get you depressed unless if you are courageous enough and you psyched yourself sufficiently that come what may, I will shrug it off and I would go with it. So it's, I mean, the lesson in this is just for us to make sure that we ponder very well. We take time to think through any decision we are going to make before we take that decision, so that at the end of the day we do not have cause to regret. Thank you very much for that beautiful contribution, Dr. Aseyin. So I was also going to ask, can mentorship or counsel counseling people help in discerning the right course of action when people are in a fix between decision to move, shift, or stay? Can mentorship or counsel?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a very, very good question. Um, and that is one thing I love about mentorship, right? Mentorship allows you, um, like there's this adage that says experience is the best teacher. But I always tell myself that that experience doesn't have to be your own personal experience.
Mhm.
You can learn from the experience of others, the mistakes they have made, in the decisions they have made. And that is why mentorship is counseling is very, very crucial. And why everybody should actually have a mentor that has walked that path, that have gone through those those decisions that you are just trying to make. Okay, so mentorship helps a lot in guiding you, or the person can get to tell you that, okay, I've done something like this before, and oh, it burns me, or oh, it wasn't the right way to go, right, from my experience, and I believe you shouldn't go this way, you should go this way instead. But even when you have a mentor, when you have a counselor, right, and they're advising you on some certain things, right, based on experience or based on other people's experience or based on what they've seen, right, you yourself need to still personally make those decisions. It has to still be a
Yes.
personal decision. You won't say because my mentor told me to do it, then I'll do it. Then at the end of the day, if it was wrong, then you start blaming your mentor. No, your mentor is just to guide you, to share from their
You
own
own your own
experience.
decision.
Yes,
You
you
own
still
your
have
own
to make
decision.
your own decision to move, to stay, or
Please,
to
media,
shift.
can you put that contribution back from Dr. Saying? Sorry. It says movement should be a deliberate decision based on scenario building, which is part of what we have been talking, saying, that you have to look at the pros and cons. Scenario building, you must examine various options, including worst case scenario, before taking the decision to move, shift, or stay. I want to add. That's very beautiful. So I believe that really complements what our guests have been explaining to us. And if we're able to use this guiding principle, I think it will go a long way for us. I really want to appreciate all of you today, especially our guests, Damilola Oluwadamilola Ojo, because I see that the way you always want to spell your name, abi, that's you call it Oluwadamilola fully, abi.
Yes.
So I know you make that emphasis. So I also don't want to do the Nigerian thing by cutting it short like Dami or Damilola. Oluwa, Oluwa Damilola, we are very grateful. You've done beautifully well, share great insights. And while we were on, we had some people join us. some of our regular audience. We have Wendy Garuba Ayeni from Lagos. We have Ibukun Olu who also contributed through the question from Lagos as well. Taiwo Ojo from Abuja. We have there's one Infano. I don't know if that is a nickname. It doesn't sound like a regular name to me, but whichever it is, we welcome you, Infano. Then we have Dr. Aseyin from Abuja who also contributed very well to the discussion. Thank you very much for this discussion. I wish we can go on and on, but we have to really put our mind on time because it's just a 1 hour show. But God will grant us the opportunity again to have some beautiful topics such as this that would help us to grow better and make the right decision. Like we come to that stage that we need to have a recap. Growth in life is not about constant motion, but about the right motion. And that's why our decision has to be right and top notch. Sometimes staying is strength, shifting is strategy, moving is destiny. The power lies in knowing which one applies and when. Okay, we have Favor Iyala from Abuja as well. Thank you for joining us today, Favor. So as we come to the close of this enlightening session, one truth stands clear. Life and leadership, like seasons, are full of transitions. The wisdom lies not just in moving, but in moving at the right time, not merely in staying, but in staying with purpose. We have learned today that knowing when to move requires courage, the courage to step out of the familiar and embrace new possibilities. Knowing when to shift demands adaptability, the willingness to change methods without abandoning the mission. And knowing when to stay calls for discernment, the strength to be still, even when everything around us seems to be in motion. In a world that celebrates speed, may we not confuse activity with progress. Sometimes growth happens in motion, other times it happens in stillness. The key discernment is listening deeply and observing clearly, as well as aligning our choices with purpose, timing, and values. So, once again, I would like to appreciate all of you that joined us. I would like to appreciate our special guest for today, Oluwadamilola Ojo. She's been very, very impactful through our insight on knowing when to move, shift, or stay. I hope you have enjoyed today's show. If so, please once like and share our videos. Stay updated with information about our upcoming events. Till I come your way again, let us go forth and find the wisdom to move when it's time, the humility to shift when it is needed, and the faith to stay when it is right. For in mastering the rhythm lies the secret to sustain success, peace, and fulfillment. Thank you all once again. Have a beautiful week. Thank you. Bye for now.